Why buy your next vehicle from Community Motors of Mason City?
Great service from 3 locations. Community on Monroe, Community Motors Westside, and Mason City Ford. 10 new franchises and hundreds of vehicles to give you more choices. Plus, Community offers an exclusive 3-3 warranty on pre-owned vehicles and 10-year, 250,000-mile warranty on new. Need more reasons why? Stop or visit CommunityAutoGroup.com.
Because nobody beats a community deal, nobody.
Introduce any items that he finds interesting. Note for the record, Mr. Hickey is here, so we have all council members present. Let Mr. Trout kind of just open up and touch on whatever he'd like to touch on, and then we'll come back and moderate a discussion and see if any council members have any additions or highlights or questions. Mr. Trout.
All right, well, I'm going to go specific to the items and the top priorities, and then go through each one of those. On the shovel-ready site issue, we are already working with the EDC, and they're working through evaluating land options that might exist for locations and so forth for doing the shovel-ready site and evaluating those. And as soon as they've completed that, then we'll get back together with them because we need to figure out where the location is and so forth before we can figure out some of the costs that are related to the specific sites. So as soon as we get that from them, we'll be able to move forward on that. RFP for the garbage recycling services didn't get to work on it at guard training like I thought. Didn't work out. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get very far. I am looking at July 31st, trying to get a little further along in the process. I've got a memo about a third of the way done, but we need to finish it over the next 2 days so that we can get that out to you potentially on Friday so that we can meet again. We have a scheduled work session for the 31st and go through. This would be the only, it would be the only item on the agenda unless we don't get very far tonight and move one of the end ones, then we move that to the next one. Going back and looking at some of the information that I have and kind of ratcheting back and going into a more detailed discussion about why you do managed competition and some of the issues that deal with the service levels, the costs, some of the things that really drive people to making the decision relative to this. So working on that. Fire department, that's on the agenda for tonight, so I won't cover that any further. The first step was passed related to the local option sales and service tax. Information was given to the auditor, so it can be on the agenda. We have another gate that comes in August that Kevin, we're watching, and once that gate opens for submitting information regarding the ballot language and so forth, we'll get that approved by council and submitted to the auditor on time. Just have not scheduled anything yet related to the Human Rights Commission meeting. That's something that's coming up. I briefly talked with the chair and the director today even as we were preparing. They came in and mentioned what was that item, and it's just, I told them we were looking at a meeting in the future. The other high priorities, the police and fire facilities on the agenda tonight. Continuous improvement plan. We really are starting to have some meetings and get staff educated on some of these things. You can read, I have an idea and plan in place for how I'd like to conduct it. Perry's working up a lot of the details relative to how we're going to put this together, but the intent is for us to have some type of continuous improvement session to look at a process that the city does and analyze it and try and find a better way to do that. Hopefully in the November, December, and January is what I'm looking at right now for having events. Actually, we had 7 people go to the Lean Consortium meeting, opened up some eyes of staff members about possibilities, programs that we can do. So I think we're getting there, and I think it's starting to be felt within the organization, understanding that. Common ground, as mentioned, we have a meeting August 3rd to start that process with the task force with the EDC and the county and Clear Lake. So that's moving forward. The others, in the other council priorities, the last 5, we've done various parts related to neighborhood beautification. I have an update relative to, you received in your email, a press release regarding C-Click Fix is now active. So what I had Pam copy, this is what it looks like on the front page of the website with the little icon there if you want to go to C-Click Fix. And then when you pull it up on the next page, it's the information and tells them how to go about doing it and so forth. So all that's active, so I'll pass one so that if we pass that around. And then also sending, this is an update that I received in May, which I did not pass on to council, but I am now. At the end of May, May 31st, got an update from Pat Otto on where we're coming on the various parts. And we've been continuing to make progress on the various parts of the beautification and nuisance enforcement, code enforcement, all those types of things. And one other item that we are looking at the maintenance code, property maintenance code again, and potentially whether there are parts of that we want to add into the ordinances that we have in order to beef up what we're able to do relative to the upkeep of property. And that's being analyzed right now. Obviously, this will be an item that when Stephen Steenhouse, our new director, starts, he'll get energized with this and the staff, and that'll hopefully, with him there, that'll pull some things away from that Pat Otto's having to do, and she can focus on this a lot more. It kind of got stalled as her as the acting, temporary director for that department. Some of those responsibilities kind of stalled some of this out, so hopefully we can get energized to finish up some of these items.
Question real quick.
Yeah.
Where are we at with Jim and Kyle as far as, are they active or are they
Yes.
still being responsive to citizen complaints?
It's my understanding, a number of occasions they've been active, but how many days, I couldn't say that. I mean, the basic statement has been they've been active, but I know that just recently I've received a number of calls from council members about some concerns over weeds in some of the areas, and so I need to find out what they're working on specifically and address some of those other areas relative to weeds, because don't expect that would be coming to your level at this point. If they're active enough, they should be catching those items, because some of them are rather hot. So it's something that I intend to find out is where we're at. We've been getting a number of calls.
How about if we
Just
fire,
a-
let me fire Trout all the way through here quick, and then we'll come back so he can keep his strand on it, all right?
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'll finish real quick here. Increasing crime, we've addressed, one issue relative to the Alley Cats Bar. We've also begun to, the department's been doing a number of things in their operations to try and address the issues. We had the North End Partnership meeting where we were at to try and address any issues they had there. Also looking at other potential changes that we might make in our rental ordinance that would address some concerns on taking care of landlords and renters and different things related to that. So that's in the infant stage, but it is something that we're working on. Council goals, a lot of those are things that we saw our current bond rating is awesome. We got a very good result out of our last bonding, so we're continuing that. Council goal is being met. Sustainability links, some of that's been started, but I haven't specifically addressed anything on that lately. And then the blue zones, that is an upcoming work session. We're right now in the middle of the focus groups have been held. The Power 9 group will be meeting to help identify the things that may need to be city community policy changes. And there'll be a work session once we get figured out the right date in August. The August work session will be about blue zones and the steps and things that council will need to do. So that's what the August work session will be related to. And the commitment to excellence, that relates back to a number of the items that are in the priorities. So I won't delve into that too much. So I had a transition meeting today with Jim Loker and Randy Nielsen relative to the city attorney switchover. And so a number of issues are handed off to Randy. Jim will handle any issues that are small related to that, and then August 1st from then on, or if it's a long-term issue that's gonna go on for a while, I'm already sending it to Randy in order rather than have Jim waste time on it and have to hand it over. So that's where we're at in a quick nutshell on the priorities. And for me, and I think this is what the discussions we had with the mayor and council on this, is that we're You know, if there are things that we haven't put enough emphasis now, that still related to all the other priorities, need to have more emphasis now and spend less time on one of the other ones. That's really what I'm looking for, is where to spend my time and effort so that I'm spending it where you want. Obviously, they'll all be done, you know, the intent you set up, so they'll all be done by the end of the year, but if you feel one needs to rise to the top now compared to the others, that's what I need.
Sure. Yep, this is just a checkpoint along the way. Councilwoman Solberg, do you have a thought or question?
Just on the C-Click fix, so if we as council people are still getting calls and perhaps citizens do not have email access, are we supposed to input that?
No,
In-
send it. You can still send the same, if you have a councilman, have a citizen call you with an issue and they're not interested in using C-Click Fix, you can mention it to them that it's available. But if they're not interested in doing that, simply take down the information and forward it to me. And as I mentioned, the communications plan, copy Pam Stecker, and we'll get it on to the right staff members so that we're addressing, so that it gets addressed.
But will it get put in here so we can track it? I guess is my question, so who's gonna be?
I think that was the intent, is that maybe that Pat Auto staff would be putting the item once it came in, that they would put it into there in order to track it. Not, it wouldn't probably be Pam, but it would be, I'll verify that that's what we plan to do. But they do intend to try and track all items through C-Click Fix, because then that way the rest of the community can track it too. Because that way everybody has visibility of it being sent in, and anybody that happens to see it wouldn't think, oh, I need to report that. They would know, especially if they're looking at things within their neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Solberg. Mr. Kuhn?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Brent, for the update. I really appreciate trying to stay on top of all this. And a few pages, this helps me out a lot. Two of them that I wanted to address, and like you were saying, these change all the time. The increased commercial and municipal energy development, that was one that I put on there at our initial meeting back in January, and full disclosure, nothing has really happened on that. But I have been having some discussions with some staff and people down at the Iowa Department of Energy Independence, and this is something that I don't think it would take a lot of staff time, but starting to look into some different grants that we can apply for through the Iowa Department of Energy Independence that go towards municipal buildings and reducing the amount of energy spent each year. And obviously there's a long process, and I brought some information for different programs that municipalities can apply for, and that's something that I'm very interested in. And I know I'm just one of 6, but that's something I plan. I know we're not taking any formal action, but I think working with our grant writing staff to make a little more priority on that sometime here in the future. So that was one I didn't want to just leave hanging there that nothing has happened on, because that's
Yeah, I
something.
mentioned that even in the write-up, that I need more clarification on where that item is, what it is.
Yeah. And then the other one, and it kind of goes to a few of these, but neighborhood beautification, addressing increasing crime, and then C-Click Fix as well. We, like you said, Brent, in the very infant stages, but having some discussions with city attorney and slowly starting to put together some sort of city ordinance that will address not just homes, not just businesses, but I think the term in other communities that have done this is called disorderly premise. They're putting some teeth into some of these to have some action the city can take to enforce against some of these disorderly premises. And this will be a very slow process. It's very much in the infant stage. We'll have to bring in Director Foster, Pat Otto, and really hopefully do this right. But as we're again reprioritizing, I think that's something in my mind anyways to put towards the top of the list at this moment. So just want to get that out there.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhn. Well. Mr. Lee?
We're so excited to jump in here. You know, looking at the priorities and looking at the goals, you know, when we set this back in January, early February, whatever, you know, still kind of cutting my teeth, so to speak, I realized the 5 goals we set, or priorities we set, really focus on 1 and 5. I just numbered them, maintain fund balance, and 5 being government services. You know, we said the commercial municipal energy development, but we set no priorities for that. Blue Zone Committee, Blue Zone model, something I really did, but I'm not sure if we have a priority here. So my point is, I'm not sure if our goals and priorities always match up very well, so that's something to keep in mind for next year. But looking at these, if our big goal is, you know, good fund, keep our funding in good standing. We talked about jobs, it's not on here, but trying to maintain jobs and all that. Increase population, which is a huge goal, and maintain government services, those three. I mean, of those, if those are truly our goal, of the ones we have, we continue with the RFP discussion, streamline fire department and the local option sales tax. But to me, develop certified shovel-ready site kind of hits on all three of those very well. And to me, that has to be the number one priority. And I wrote down while you were talking, Brent. What's the timeline? You said you got the EDC's looking at it and they'll get back to us. Was that talking to get back to us in a week, 4 weeks?
Well, it's probably been about a month and a half since we had that meeting. Obviously, when you're talking to landowners, it's a very sensitive issue. And so the exact time discussions, I don't know that they've occurred. So I have to circle back with them and see what has occurred. I've been waiting to hear from him, but I need to circle back with Mr. Willard and see what's occurred.
And we're spending 6 weeks here trying to talk with landowners. I get the sensitive part of it, but we're halfway through the year, over halfway through the year. And to me, this is the number one priority that meets most of our goals, or the majority of the goals. And if we want this done, so to speak, by December, we gotta get a push on this. This is where I stand. You know, the other ones I wanna move along. The local option sales tax will take care of itself. I think that's gonna be a voting number, we'll make sure that takes care of itself. The other ones, but I'd like to see more time and energy on that certified shovel ready, and that's where I stand for now.
Mr. Lee? Strumpus?
I concur with John's comments on the shovel-ready side. I'd like to see us be aggressive and helping the EDC move it along, rather than us waiting for the EDC to be at a point that they think they're ready to communicate. I don't know if that's happening or not. In general, I'm just agreeing with John's comments. On council goals, one of them, two of them are catching my attention at this point. One is increased population by the state of Iowa average. And it seems to me that we almost need to take that and set some sub-goals specific to trying to work towards making that happen. And I don't think that the city or the council can do that by ourselves. I attended the business leaders luncheon that the chamber had a week ago Friday, where the what's her name? It's escaping me right now.
Debbie Durham.
When Deb Durham was up.
Sure.
And she's always interesting to listen to. She's a smart lady. But we talked about trying to be a community that is attractive to young people. And I'm of the mind that we should form a representative group of citizens, by way of example, and I'm not saying this is the right group, but by way of example, just to put a stake in the ground, somebody from the EDC, somebody from the chamber, probably somebody from NIAC, maybe a JC or somebody representative of that group. But we need to get a group of people together that can focus on what we need to do as a community to be attractive to young people. This focus, as it's put in here, is basically on economic development projects that are gonna lead to job creation. But parallel to that, we need to make sure that we've got a community with amenities that's attractive to the type of people that we're trying to attract. You know, one of the things that was mentioned in that breakfast was having a park or parks that's Wi-Fi. That's something that I think we could implement pretty easily at a relatively low cost, but that's the kind of thing that young people are looking for. There may be a whole bunch of low-hanging fruit that we can go after. We just need to get a group of people talking about it and thinking about it, and even bringing forward a list of priorities that we can consider. So that's my thoughts on increasing the population. I don't want us to sit back and wait for it to happen. I want us to have a strategy to try to force it to happen. And I don't think, I think it was our role appropriately to set the goal. I don't know that it's our role to set the strategy. And then I wanted to touch on commitment to excellence. That's one that has risen off the page for me. I think we need to continue working with things as stated here in the packet, but underlying that, I think across the board at city staff, there needs to be a greater commitment to excellence. And to me, that means responsiveness to the citizens. I know we've all been somewhat frustrated over the last month or two. And I think, when I think in terms of commitment to excellence in government services, for me, it starts with council and staff responsiveness to citizens. And we get that squared away, and then we can work on the bigger things. I think you've taken some good steps in that direction with the memo you put out here in the last couple of days on how we might streamline and facilitate communication so things don't slip through the cracks. I think the See Quick Fix thing has a lot of potential, but it's gonna take some time for that to develop. And as we're waiting for that, I think we really need to be focused on speed, being as quick as we can and responding to the various issues that come before us.
Mr. Tronquist, Mr. Lee?
I'd like to just comment on what Mr. Tronquist said. I agree with the increased population. And we jump up just a couple of council priorities, addressing the increase in crime. If there is a perception, right or wrong, about Mason City's higher crime rate or non-higher crime rate, but we perceive it to be or whatever, that's going to detract a lot of possible people. I think that needs to be addressed. And council sitting down with the police chief, or in a work session, or I don't know if it's a full group, a couple of us, but I think we have to be aggressive on attacking the perception of public safety. No, that will, wireless parks, I agree with, these that attract people. If they perceive, they've had 3 murders in the last 14 months, whatever it's, I don't know, that will back people off before even looking at what we offer. So I think that has to, I was gonna say that earlier, I forgot to, but it reminded me when he said that. Addressing increase in crime, we have to not just talk about it behind the scenes, but it has to be in front of the people to realize we are serious about the public safety. And we are, but it has to be perceived that way. Otherwise, people outside of town will never see it, and then they won't be looking beyond that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I just tag on to that at the North End Partnership meeting. I know we're getting a little off here, but the addressing increasing crime, whether it's increasing or not. I think the chief and the police force did a great job at that meeting. And again, not just to target it to one area, but to be out there and to talk to the citizens about everything they're doing without, I don't want chiefs at the podium at the council meeting giving away the strategies about what they're doing, but I think they are doing a good job of that, and anything we can do to, we're not gonna write a policy that's gonna change perception, but anything we can do to kind of lead in that example, I agree with as well. Because it goes beyond just the public safety. When you have that perception of something going on, it affects, selling your house in a certain area and things like that. So I would definitely agree with Councilman Lee decided to say.
Thank you, Steve. Mouse. Mr. Baker.
Like, just kind of the spin-off of Councilman Lee's. I think too, our shovel-ready sites should be our #1 priority. Again, it comes down to possible or potential future job growth for Mason City, which again could help population, bring younger families to town. And then also, again, addressing the crime issues. And I don't care if we had 200 police officers on the street. As Chief has said, these are, and I know he doesn't like the word isolated, but they're isolated incidences that they probably would have happened no matter what. There's not much you can do about that, but I think some of the other issues we can address, and I think we're making that step forward, and we showed that at the last council meeting. So I'm pretty much in line with what everybody said. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Higbee. Ms. Marinas.
Well, I agree with everybody's comments here, but I think we need to keep in mind that this is not an easy any of these goals or priorities are not an easy process, and it does take time. If we keep in mind that Mason City is a wonderful community to live in, we still got neighborhoods that still need some help, and we still have issues, but we're moving towards it. And I think this council particularly has done a great job of articulating some of the things that we need to do, and keeping them as a priority, and keeping them in front of the public is something that we need to do, and we'll continue to do.
Thank you, Mr. Mears. Yeah, Mr. Trout.
And I agree. I think that one of the things that, because of what you've asked me to do, this is the first time I've ever in my career done where we talk about council goals and priorities, and I'm updating you regularly. I'm being held accountable, and we're working on those things. But it also is, it's creating discussion. Your ideas are coming to me, and then we're working through and coming up with solutions together on these things. And by putting them aware to everybody, we end up in the possibility of having success a lot greater than just saying, okay, these are what we want to do, and at the end of the year we say, well, did we do it? We're not doing that. We're not letting them just be up on the wall. We're actively pursuing them and finding solutions.
Mr. Trout, anybody else? Ms. Goldberg.
Just a real quick comment that, you know, and not that the house or anything like that would stop maybe a criminal act, but with our neighborhood beautification program going on, perhaps it might cut down on some of this criminal activity too, you know. And not, like I said, not that you couldn't have a $500,000 house where something happens, you know, but I guess we gotta be maybe a little bit more positive in our thinking, and hopefully that with this, we can kind of make a chain of events and hopefully cut down on some of the crime.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Mr. Trout. We will move to agenda item number 2, paperless council meetings. Mr. Trout.
All right, thank you.